Hi, everyone. I wanted to go over a quick lesson on Parashat Vayikra. I think that in this Parsha, there's something very important for today's time, I think. I want to address that. But before that, I want to just thank everyone. I want to thank everyone who reached out to me. I had some people reach out to me, really trying to follow the status of my son. And I just want to share something that HaShem did really briefly before we get into the lesson. And, HaShem is just so merciful and so compassionate. And he has this way of showing you that he's with you no matter what you're going through. And, yesterday I received a message, a picture. I received a picture with a message on the bottom that said, "Is this your son?" And it happened to be from a woman whose son also left the same day as my son. And I had given her hizuk that day. She was going through she was taking it very hard, the separation of her son when we were all dropping them off. And I was like astonished because here was a picture of my son. And based upon the picture, it almost seemed that it was coming from the place where he was stationed, which it almost seems like impossible. Like, how could that picture even exist? And so I called her and I asked her, I said, yes, that's my son. How did you get this picture? And she said that somebody was there for graduation. And at the time, my son was kind of yelling out as they always, yes, Drill Star, or whatever it was, but he was yelling out. And somebody snapped the photo. And I don't know if they found out through a tour. I don't know what it was, but he found out that this was a particular regimen, particular platoon regimen. And so I guess on Facebook, they have like all these groups. A lot of them are even broken down into subcategories based upon the regimen and the graduation date. And so he forwarded the photo to that particular group. And this mom happened to be on the group, right? And she was looking through the photos thinking, maybe she'll see her son. But she didn't see her son, but she recognized my son. And so she sent it. And I was like so astonished because here it is, right? Nothing is random, but here it is. You have this photo that was taken by a total stranger to both of us, given over to a group. He had no way of knowing that we were on this group or whatever. I'm not a Facebook person myself. And here it is. He gives over this photo and it happens to make its way back to me, with a woman I gave hizuk to, which otherwise we have not connected at all. And when I saw this photo, it came at a time where I myself needed some hizuk and HaShem was there. And I really felt like that HaShem was illuminating the verse from Bereshit 46:4 that said, "I will go down with you to Mitzrayim and I will also bring you up." And that's what I felt like, because when they're in this particular time frame, we're cut off. We have no communication other than letters that don't come until a few weeks, and they're very slow and in between. And I really felt like HaShem was saying, I don't want to get emotional, but I felt like he was saying, I am there. I am there and I'm with him. I'm going to go down with him and I'm going to bring him back. And I think that sometimes, like a lot of us, we tend to forget that. We know in theory, HaShem is everywhere. But I think sometimes we know that, but we don't know that. And sometimes, or at least for me, and I think that sometimes I forget that. But the truth is, I think there's no better, there's no one better to be there than HaShem. And HaShem is so much more better equipped to go through this process with him than I am. But I really thought that this was such a compassionate thing that HaShem did, that he said, look, I am there with him. And I remember you and your suffering as well. It was just so compassionate. It really just overwhelms me. I just have to tell you, HaShem, that was very, very cool. So cool. I always look forward. Don't you love when he does things like that? That was so personal. It was so meant to be. And I just thank HaShem. So I just want to give out this short lesson on Vayikra. Should be zechus for my son. He would continue to have HaShem with him. His presence be made known openly. And I pray that this short shir would give Hashem a lot of nachas, that his children should, not only his children, but all of his creation should come into a time of compassion. Again, Hashem, so grateful, so thankful. I love you tremendously. I can't even, articulate it. So with that, I'm going to try with B'siyata Dishmaya to get through this lesson. It comes with so much love for Hashem, and I pray that he will help me to do justice to it. Okay, so Parashat Vayikra, and he called, which is what it translates to, and right out from the gate, I love how Hashem, there's so much wisdom in one sentence. You can make a whole lesson out of it. So we're going to actually just start off right from the gate, and it says in Leviticus chapter 1, and he called to Moshe, and the Lord spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, now, what can we draw from this, right? Because this parsha is kind of, I don't know if maybe some people will have a hard time in this entire parsha finding out what does this mean to me in my daily life, right? Because from here we kind of get, the jobs of the Kohanim and the Levim and the sacrifices and who brings what and it almost seems like there's a hierarchy here. So, it almost seems like it's hard for us to apply this into our daily life. But I want to say that right from the first verse, there's such wisdom in that I think applies to this date and time. It's almost as if the ink is still wet on the paper, because when you really start to break down what this means and how it applies to today's life, it is so it's so fascinating. So we see that this is kind of like the second calling, if you will. We see Moshe, he gets called from the burning bush, right? And in that place, Moshe turns. It says that he turns, and that causes Hashem to have a reaction, right? And then that kind of is the catalyst for all of this that's been happening ever since. So here again, we see that he called to Moshe again. And, the Hebrew lettering in here, Rashi says that it denotes a calling of affection, if you will. And that the voice reached to Moshe's ears, but no one else heard it, right? So this is what is so relevant for today, because there's times that certain people will do an action that causes them to turn, kind of like a tshuva, right? And it causes a reaction from Hashem. Yet, we're going through this process of becoming Bali Tshuva and really in a state of repentance, which to an extent, everyone, Yidden, not Yidden, we do come to these places where we have these moments of clarity and we realize we're on the wrong derech, and we make this about face. And here the Torah is saying that it's a voice of compassion and affection. It's really a voice of affection. But we're going through it, but no one else around us is going through it. And that's kind of the same thing as it reached Moshe's ears, but no one else heard it. And a lot of times we see this, especially within your family, where you get this epiphany and it becomes clear as day, yet no one else has heard it or seen it. And then that becomes the battle, right? Within the house, within the outer family, the extended family, within the friends, within society, that becomes the outer battle, because you have legitimately heard this calling to do an about face and to be an Eved Hashem, right? Before it was Eved to yourself, and now it's you're doing this about face and you're becoming Eved Hashem. And that whole process, not everyone goes along, just because you've had the epiphany. Not everybody else, heard the voice and comes along with you. So this becomes that battle. But of course, as we read in the previous parsha, that Hashem has said to us, when they were trying to when Moshe was trying to lift the Mishkan, he said, this is a thing that is it's not possible, for me to do this. And Hashem said, busy yourself with work and I will lift it up. And that's kind of what we have to do when we get into these places where we feel overwhelmed, that it seems impossible that our family members are going to come along or whatever it is. or that you yourself are going to come along and that you're going to get to the place where you think that you have to be, or that you want to be. HaShem is saying, keep yourself busy with what you're supposed to be doing, and I will do the rest. And it's a great partnership that HaShem is trying to have with us. That, some of the things that he's telling us to do make no sense at all. But when you do them, it becomes a miraculous thing, And, you have the jobs, of the Kohanim and the Leviim, and it seems like there's this hierarchy here. But the truth is that it's not really a system of ranks as opposed to a system of what everyone has to do, what their job is. So everyone makes mistakes, right? Everyone makes mistakes. Kohanim and Leviim are not exempt from that, it's just, there's no exemption here. Everybody makes a mistake. Hence the reason why this chapter is coming to say who brings what, when and why and where and how to do it. And, when I say that this is just so applicable for today, it's because those people who need this atonement, right? Who need the day-to-day, because we never stop making mistakes. I think that's part of the whole growing process. You never stop making mistakes. And, that's part for the course, right? And, it's the people that maybe in this parsha seem like the common folk, right? The common folk who need all this atonement, right? And that's not really what it is. The quote unquote common folk, really like you and me, right? And they are the Baalei Teshuvas. They are the people who are in the trenches, not just the Baalei Teshuva. They are the people in the trenches who are essentially getting their hands dirty in this work to bring light into the nations. And sometimes we mess up and we get our hands dirty in the process. And that doesn't mean that we're less than, because Kohanim, there's plenty of verses where it says that the Kohanim have to be ritually pure, and if they don't, there's cases cited where there would be a rope tied to the leg because one of them was not ritually pure. So we see that no one really is exempt from the possibility of making a mistake. It's just part of life. It's part of the growing process. But you should know that everyone who has not grown up from birth, and I'm speaking specifically to them and to the Baalei Teshuva, that your work is probably much more relevant today than it ever was, because as this world, continually and unfortunately goes further and further into the darkness, it is at this time that your experience and your journey back home gives the greatest light. And as we've read before, that when HaShem took Abraham out and he said, I will make your descendants like the stars. Apparently, stars are only seen at night. So Yidden are very much compared to as stars. They're only seen at night and only when it's dark, right? That's when stars have their greatest potential to give their light. And so this is really a message of encouragement that every especially every daughter of Am Yisrael, you have this tremendous light in you that now is going to be shining brighter and brighter and brighter. And all these experiences that you've had, those skills and what you've learned from those things, the lessons you've learned, are so important for today to help navigate people out of that abyss and to help bring more light into the world, and ultimately will help usher in the Geulah and to bring Mashiach. So I just wanted to give over, just this short, I say short, and it's going to be about 15 minutes, but the short share just to say, whatever you learn, continue to share, continue to grow. HaShem is truly with you in all of this, Sometimes it seems like HaShem is nowhere to be found, but I promise you he's there, as we've seen with what he did for me and my son. I pray that HaShem would reveal himself openly to you guys and to myself. We all need it. I think we all need a hazuk now and then. And sometimes more times than others. And I just pray for Hashem's sake that he would allow all of his creations to enter a time of compassion for one another, that compassion should grow upon the earth, and just a time of, with everything going on, just a time of unity, if nowhere else, at least among Klal Yisrael, for his own nachas. I love you, Hashem. Thank you so much for what you have given to me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to reach other people. And I don't even have words. I'm so incredibly overwhelmed with love and emotion for Hashem. So that's it for now. I am, contemplating putting up another channel, separate channel, kind of documenting, I guess the what will be. Only Hashem knows what the journey will be, but he signed up for 6 years in the boot camp. In the service. And I'm thinking of documenting that, not only for myself, but for other moms as well that are going through this. And should there be any other Yidden moms that are going through this, what is life like with all of these questions and things like, as a mom who's got a child in the service. And it doesn't have to be the American service. I think there's mothers who have children in all the services. So kind of just like a network of support. And that channel, I believe, thinking of the name, Semper Fidelis Mom. And I'm hoping to really, really at least document my journey into all of this with Hashem's help and how he's just getting us through. So thank you all. I wish you all a lot of koach for the Pesach cleaning. And we should all merit to see the redemption soon, speedily in our days. Amen v'amen.